Well, hello, Leanna, or the Gem Goddess. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Erika.
Yes, I'm super excited that we're able to make this work and that you're able to come onto the show. Why don't we start off with you sharing with everybody a little bit about who you are and why you decided to get onto YouTube?
Yeah, so I am a tarot reader and astrologer and manifestation coach, and I have been into manifestation and like kind of the magical world my whole life. My mom was spiritual, so I grew up quite spiritual, but I was more of a closet spiritualist because I had this idea and notion that not many people sort of believed in this stuff. And, back when I was growing up, it was sort of a little bit more taboo still. And I didn't really ever talk about it much. It was like a personal passion that me and my mom would always wake up and like do tarot and astrology. And I'd always have these psychic dreams as a kid and feel like sort of I would have like psychic visions about my future. And it was always like really unique to me, but I never really felt like I had a space to talk about it. And eventually I went into audio engineering thinking that I was going to be an audio engineer. And that sort of solidified more of the manifestation stuff that I was learning. I was learning about vibration and how your vibration attracts different things. And learning audio engineering, you learn about how everything is vibration. So if you go on like a molecular level or an atomic level, everything is vibration. And we learned in audio engineering how different vibrations interact with each other and create a new vibration, because in audio, of course, you're dealing with frequencies and you have to sort of basically make audio, make music using frequencies. That's what music is, and that's what the whole world is. So I started piecing together more about the understanding about how manifestation works and how our frequency, how our vibration sort of emanates and projects and creates our reality. So it kind of solidified a lot of those ideas for me, which I did not expect at all going into audio engineering.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. Yeah, really cool.
And I just got way more into it, and I was so passionate about it. And in my whole and heart and soul, I was like, this is my hugest passion. But again, I never really felt like I could talk about it. I kind of felt still a little bit crazy about believing in those things. And eventually I really wanted to work for myself, and I had a YouTube channel where I was doing makeup for a while, and I was just making videos upon videos upon videos of me doing like lifestyle kind of content and whatnot, but I wasn't super passionate about it. Even though, I still like doing my makeup and whatnot, but it wasn't really fulfilling my soul. And eventually I kind of got to a breaking point where I was like, I just really want to talk about tarot. I want to talk about astrology. I want to talk about the law of attraction. And at the time I was super nervous, but I was like, I just need to overcome this. It was like the biggest thing that I needed to personally overcome was the fear of what other people are going to say or think, or what my family is going to say or think, even though my mom's spiritual, but she was like a closet spiritualist too. And I probably had family members that were probably shocked by it. And but eventually I was just like, I want to do this. So I made that leap, I made that jump, and I didn't expect a lot from it because I didn't think that many people really believed in this stuff. I didn't think that there was going to be an audience for it, but I was just so passionate about it and I loved it. And I was like, even if only 10 people watch my YouTube channel, that's cool, know? And that wasn't the case at all. I right as I started making pick a card videos, my channel ended up like taking off very quickly, and I was making some manifestation videos that did really well, and the rest was kind of history from there. And I really felt like it was kind of confirmation that was the path that I was supposed to be on, and it really just felt in my soul like it was the right path. So that's sort of the journey.
Why did you feel, or at the time, why did you start with makeup?
I still really like makeup. I like getting ready in the morning, and it was fun to kind of experiment with the way that I looked and whatever. And also just growing up, I was like probably pretty insecure, and so putting on makeup always made me feel better. But as I gotten older, I pretty much don't wear makeup too often anymore, but other than when I'm filming. But I just started with makeup because it was something that I just liked doing. It wasn't like a passion, but I liked it. And I knew that I wanted to work for myself, and YouTube just seemed kind of fun. So, yeah.
I think a lot of people, for some reason, a lot of women especially, feel like they do that like makeup path at the beginning, and it's kind of funny. It's like, there's so many makeup channels out there. Do we really need, more, right? I mean, obviously if somebody's like really passionate about it, if they're really like good at it, I think of course there's always space for new talent in any niche. Definitely. But a lot of people end up almost like thinking that's what they're supposed to do. And when you start talking to them, you realize like there's a whole nother world of things that you can talk about and maybe even see more success in, other than makeup.
Yeah. And just in my soul, I kind of felt like I just wanted to do more and have a bit more of an impact. And makeup is beautiful, and it impacts women in so many different ways because women feel more confident with it and all sorts of different things. And it's just a fun kind of thing that you can experiment with. But I just, in my kind of like what my soul was calling me towards was just something a bit more, I don't know, a bit more like, I don't know.
Deeper,
I don't know.
maybe a little deeper.
Deeper.
Something else. And so how long were you doing the makeup until you kind of made that, you had that breaking point where you said, I want to do something else? Like, how long were you at this YouTube thing?
I was probably doing YouTube for about 4 years doing
so
makeup and lifestyle. It was a while, and I was dedicated to making like a video every week. Yeah.
And how many subscribers were you at that point?
I think I gained about 4,000 subscribers at that point, but it wasn't like, I didn't have like huge traction with it or anything. And it just wasn't something that I was I wasn't super passionate about. It wasn't fulfilling me on a soul level at the time.
And so you're at, how many subscribers do you have now?
We just hit 800,000.
Okay,
like,
that's amazing.
This month, I think. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so, okay, you were doing YouTube for 4 years and you were at 4,000 subscribers, and then how soon were you then able to grow, to this 800,000? How long did that take you with this new niche?
Now this has been about 4 years doing this now, because I made that switch in 2018, and now we're at 800,000 subscribers after 4 years of doing that. And it took about 6 months of doing spiritual content before it kind of like took off. I did it for about 6 months, and it really took off. But at that point, I really knew a lot more about video editing, just because I'd been doing YouTube for a lot longer prior. So it does take a while. And my advice for anybody wanting to get started in anything in their life, if you're wanting to do anything, it takes a while to build up the skill, when you first start out something. But if you are dedicated, if you really want to do something, you just need to learn from your failures, learn from the process, learn from the progress that you're making. And I really believe anyone can make any of their dreams happen, but we just kind of need to follow the formula of observing what's kind of going wrong and then making changes accordingly. And that's what I was kind of doing with YouTube and making changes with that till I got to this point. Yeah.
I love that. And so much about what you talk about is about, manifestation and mindset. What are some of the things that you think maybe get in the way for content creators with their mindset, and some of the things that they can maybe do that can help them do exactly what you said, like stay the course?
One of the biggest things is believing in yourself, and also letting your personality shine. I do notice when I first started YouTube, and I have a couple friends that have also like begun YouTube channels, which is so cool. And one of the biggest things that I had to learn in the beginning was to kind of let my personality out. I used to be so nervous and camera shy that I would want to put on almost a different personality or a different persona and really watch exactly what I say and pinpoint exactly what I say. And I'd always like redo certain parts of a video until I said it perfectly. But it came to a point where I realized like I just need to like be me and kind of just say it however it just ends up coming out. And right when I started doing that, more of my personality shined, and people also noticed it and were commenting like, hey, I really noticed more of your personality is coming through, and it's so nice. I feel way more connected to you, instead of having that sort of like really flush, like perfect persona type of thing, because that's not really relatable. Yeah. And so I'd say letting your personality shine is like the biggest thing. And then also pushing through. So even if you notice that, a certain video didn't do very well, or if you're still trying to get your platform off the ground, don't be too hard on yourself, because we have to really push through, and we can like look back on our old content and kind of see and make changes and learn from it. So we can learn like, ooh, the lighting was really good here. Or, ooh, if I sat in this area, it made the quality of the video better. Or if I upgrade my microphone, it makes it better. Or we kind of learn a little bit more about our setup and, different ways that we can make videos better, even titling a video or the thumbnail and things like that. There's all sorts of different things that go into it. So don't give up just because you're not noticing success. It doesn't mean that you're in the wrong area. It doesn't mean that it's not meant for you. It doesn't mean that you are incapable of doing it. I believe that anyone's totally capable of doing absolutely anything that they put their mind to, but it's just a process of reflect and make adjustments and learn from it and keep going. And even at this stage in my career, I'm still doing that for sure. I'm still making adjustments all the time. So it's a never ending process, and you'll notice more growth as you go and as you make changes. But the process is, don't stay stagnant, because once you get stagnant, that's when you stop growing, and that's when you're not going to notice much progress anymore.
And what do you mean by stagnant?
So being stagnant is not looking back on your stuff, not making changes, and not improving. I believe that when we improve stuff, we're always going to climb the ladder and get to new heights and kind of get to our dreams and goals. But if we kind of just get used to whatever we're doing, and we're just filming the same content all the time, hoping that one day a video is going to blow up, hoping that one day something's going to happen, it's like our external world will not change unless we change. And if we're constantly getting the same results, it means we need to change. So that's what I mean by about stagnancy. Yeah.
I love that. And it's feedback. Like you said, it's like if you're doing the same thing again and again and you're not seeing change, like granted, there's this idea of like being consistent and staying the course. That's important, because the hope is that with every video you do, the better you get, the better you understand your audience, so that you're constantly, like you said, it takes time to learn. Like you spent 4 years doing makeup, but it's not a waste, because you really learned about YouTube and the whole platform. And by the time you made this decision to change your niche, you took off maybe a lot faster than you would have if you had started with that niche at the beginning, because you had 4 years under your belt.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Exactly. Yeah. So never look at anything as a waste. Anything is a learning experience. And with that perspective too, you'll also have a better, more positive outlook on yourself and your life if you just account everything as something that has helped you, even if it's negative. All of our negative experiences teach us something. So
yeah, and like you said, it's like, it's one thing to stay consistent, but then at the same time, you do run the risk, I think, of being consistent, but then getting stagnant if you're not taking a look at what's going on and like the analytics, and then making adjustments and changes. Because you said you make adjustments, you make changes. What are you looking at that helps you make those decisions? Are you looking at the analytics? Is it, just the views, or what is it that you study and analyze to figure out how to better improve?
Yeah, so I'm actually not like the best analytics studier, but sometimes I'll look at like, oh, this video did really well, and maybe this video didn't do really well. And so I'll kind of compare the two videos and watch them back, and I'll be like, okay, what was different about the video that did really well versus the video that didn't do really well? And when you're first starting out, maybe you don't have like that comparison. You won't really know, like, was that a good video or was that not a good video? Yeah. But maybe you can look at what other creators are doing, for example, and kind of see like, ooh, their video did really well, and here's my video. How can I look at that, and how can I make adjustments? Like, what am I noticing from a viewer perspective that this person is doing that I may not be doing, that I may be lacking in? Maybe I can upgrade a certain aspect of my video or make adjustments here and here and here. So I kind of look at it from that standpoint, because the algorithm, that's something that I don't think anyone's going to ever figure out. The algorithm is kind of confusing, right? So basically, numbers aren't really my strong suit. So looking at the actual number analytics isn't my huge strong suit. But
you look at the content.
Yeah, I look at the content. So I look at like, oh, that video obviously got a lot of views. Why? That video didn't. Why? So I kind of like will reflect back on that. Yeah,
that's really cool. So have you ever felt, I mean, other than when you were doing makeup, since you've changed gears and you've seen success in this niche, have you felt that stagnation at all in this niche?
Yes. So I've had my moments of being like uninspired, or my moments of kind of like going and having a hard day. But in those moments, I kind of notice stagnation, or I won't have like a new inspiration. What I notice that I need to do during those times is kind of just retreat and not try to force inspiration, not try to force things to happen. But I notice if I either meditate and get into a new state internally, usually inspiration will just come to me, or just kind of like scrolling on YouTube and getting inspired by something new. So not necessarily watching my own videos and seeing like what I've already done, or not necessarily watching people who also do my same content, but watching something completely unrelated, different, completely unrelated will sometimes give you like random ideas or inspiration, and you'll be like, oh, that would be cool to like incorporate that or do something like that. you can get inspiration from the most random places. And I do find when you're stagnant, it's usually because you're kind of repeating the same processes every day and you're usually doing the same things. And when we're in the same environment, we think the same thoughts and we take the same actions. And so if we're needing to renew things, we need to take different actions to perpetuate different thoughts and different emotions. And then that will kind of lead you to new inspiration, mostly, is what I find.
Yeah, that's a good point. I liked what you said, and I want to kind of dig a little bit into that. Like when you said, like sometimes you'll meditate and then internally you'll like kind of shift your, maybe attitude, in that day. How does that look like for you? And how could somebody listening be like, oh, what did you do? How could I do that?
Okay, so meditation, a lot of people have a hard time with it, especially when it's like a new topic, because, it can be hard to like quiet the mind. And so doing a guided meditation can be really helpful. And there's tons of ones on YouTube. And even I have a couple on YouTube of guided meditations. And if you want to change your state, I specifically have one where it's one that I used to guide myself through. And then I decided to actually like record it and put it out. And it basically walks you through something that you desire. So something that you're desiring, whether that be confidence or whether that be a certain job or money or whatever it is that you want. You could literally put anything into the meditation. But then in the meditation, I basically guide you through experiencing that. And when you experience something that's different than your current reality, it very much changes your state. So if you're all of a sudden imagining yourself in a scenario where you're super confident and you actually get to experience that in your mind through meditation, it can very much change your internal state rather than just waking up out of bed and all of a sudden we're feeling the same thoughts as yesterday. And maybe yesterday didn't go so good. And we're like, I have these bills to pay, or I have this going on. And like, I'm stressed about this. We can feel like our state is really weighing us down, which it can cause us to not feel inspired. But meditation is so good at changing your state because you can experience a whole other world through meditation. And, you don't even need to do necessarily a guided meditation. So even if you don't have time for that, even something as simple as sitting down quietly for 5 minutes, you don't even need to like quiet your mind. You could just observe your thoughts and see them kind of coming through. And it really helps you kind of see where you're at. And through that, you can begin to observe maybe why you're feeling the way you are, because you're realizing, oh, I have that going on. I didn't even realize that that's been like perpetuating in my mind, and that's where that's coming from. And so meditation can really help us kind of see more into ourselves,
Yeah,
and
I love that. And so that's so cool. We'll make sure to link that guided meditation. And then I would love to know, because that's so helpful, I'm sure, for everybody, because I'm a huge believer in that too. Visualization is huge, right? Yeah. Like visualizing is such an important, for me, an important, I think, thing that I attribute to my success is visualizing yourself, doing something, right? And they say the more and more that you do it, it's like you're basically preparing your mind or tricking your mind into thinking it's actually happening.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Yeah, because the mind doesn't know the difference between imagination or actually doing something. And you can build like neural pathways in your mind just by imagining something. So if you're imagining yourself doing like a public speech and maybe you're not that good of a public speaker, even just imagining it, you'll build like the neural network for that, and you'll be a lot better than if you didn't try to imagine it prior to going on stage and giving a public speech, because you already have it sort of built and wired in your mind. So for anything that you're doing, you can use imagination for that and visualization, because that'll really start to change the way that you're thinking, which changes the emotions that you're feeling, and then it changes the actions that you then take. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it all has like an actual like physical world
application to it.
Yeah, application.
Scientists have even proven it through athletes, which is so fascinating, that if they actually practice, and same thing with like piano players, that they find that if they're actually practicing in their mind, that it actually helps them improve them, out in the field or, with the instrument.
Oh yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. The imagination is so good.
It's so powerful. And so, it's so funny. I was having the conversation with my daughter actually today. She does jujitsu, and I was telling her, I was like, if you think about it in your mind, you can practice in your mind and it'll make you better. She's only 6 and she's like, ooh, and she's like, okay, I'm imagining it right now. I'm like, it's a great habit to do, and you can apply it to YouTube. Like, why not? Why not imagine yourself, being in a position of having your goal of 100,000 subscribers, or like you said, like being on a public stage or something like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Exactly. And also, how cool, your daughter's 6 and she does jujitsu. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's so funny. I love going, she sees her like, out there. I think it's great for like confidence and all that. I had decided when I had kids, I want them to learn some kind of like martial arts sports at a young age.
Yeah, so, that's great.
Yeah. So why don't you share with us what you do on a daily and even like weekly basis for manifesting, for like priming your mind for success as it relates to your career, which I'm assuming is related to, YouTube, but also I know you sell different courses and things like that. What's your routine like by implementing some of these things?
Yeah, so I definitely meditate in the mornings. Most mornings. I would say like 5 days a week, I'll meditate in the morning, especially if I have a lot to do. If I'm kind of like relaxing on my day off and I'm like either, on vacation or something like that, maybe I'll kind of like skip it sometimes. But I do notice when I skip it, the day is like just not the same. So I'm really trying to meditate every single day now. But meditating in the morning, especially when you have something really big going on that you want it to go really well or you want it to go a certain way, you can really change your state in the morning through meditation. So wake up, first thing that you do before you get out of bed, meditate, or if you need to get out of bed, that's helpful too so that you don't fall asleep. Mm-hmm. But that'll really shift your state and it will cause like a sort of different kind of energy to perpetuate throughout your day, which I think is very powerful. Another thing that I like to do is dream journal. Whenever I dream journal, I start to get really familiar with my dreams. And as I get familiar with my dreams, it causes me to have more lucid dreams. And whenever I have a lucid dream, I can then kind of control the dream. And if anyone listening doesn't know what a lucid dream is, essentially it is when you are dreaming, but then you become conscious while you're dreaming and you realize like, oh, I'm dreaming. And when you do that, you can actually begin to control the dream without waking up. And it's really cool. So it's even a deeper form of meditation, in my opinion, because then you can really, and then you won't have those other thoughts that kind of come in your mind, because it's almost like you're in a VR. It's literally the most real VR that you can ever experience, is having a lucid dream and then being able to kind of do whatever you want with it. So you can even ask your subconscious, because dreaming is your subconscious mind. You can even ask your dream questions in a lucid dream, and you can be like, why am I constantly feeling this way? And then watch what happens in your dreamscape. And that's your subconscious mind literally speaking to you. It's the coolest thing. So that's one thing you can do, or you can just control the entire dream and experience something that you really want to experience, or, and be able to like really feel yourself in that position. And as you do that, that really wires that in your mind and in your subconscious, which is the most powerful way to manifest, is when it becomes subconscious, because that's where all of our patterns, that's where our unconscious thoughts, that's where all that uncontrollable stuff kind of always comes up, is from our subconscious. So when you're lucid dreaming, that is when you can take control of your subconscious more than ever, because you're in such a deep brainwave state. So that really starts to ingrain. So that's a really cool way. And one of the best ways to start lucid dreaming is to keep a dream journal, because you'll begin to consciously and subconsciously recognize dream signals and dream patterns that you specifically have, which will cause you to maybe become conscious in a dream. So that really helps. Or even going throughout your day and then asking yourself, getting familiar with asking yourself, am I dreaming? And once that becomes a habit in your subconscious, you'll notice that in your dream, you may find yourself asking yourself, am I dreaming? And you'll be like, I am. And then that's kind of when you can begin to have more lucid dreams, is through those methods. There's more methods than that, but those are the two that I specifically use.
So when you say dream journaling, is it that right after getting up from a dream, you're like writing down what happened? Is that what it means, or is it something else?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it means.
Okay.
I know that sometimes people wake up and they immediately forget their dreams, and that's usually when we're not trying to remember our dreams very often. So even for those that want a dream journal, but they find themselves finding it really hard to remember their dream, even starting with just a feeling that you're waking up with, like noticing like, I think I was like dreaming about something that had a sad emotion, and then you can write that, or even just a color, or if you remember a face, like, oh, I remember that this person was in my dream, but I don't remember what happened. Writing down anything that you can will get your mind familiar with remembering your dreams as you're waking up, and you'll get better and better at it. So it's just like exercising a muscle. And then as you get better and better, you'll be able to remember like full dreams, be able to write them down in detail, and you'll notice patterns in your dreams. Like I notice patterns in my dreams a lot. Like I'll just dream about certain things that'll randomly come up, and then I'll be able to notice like, oh, I'm dreaming because I know that I only ever experience this when I'm dreaming. Yeah.
So it makes you better at when you're actually in that lucid state, being able to recognize that you're dreaming. And then if you can recognize if you're dreaming, then you can start to control the dream. And if you start to control the dream, that's where you can actually like basically add things in there that you want to put into your subconscious, basically. Am I understanding it? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can experience things that you want to. You can retrain your subconscious, or you can even interact with your subconscious and ask questions about like, oh, why do I always feel this way, or why do I always run into this kind of experience, and just find out what your dream speaks to. You can ask anything to your dream, and it's really fun to observe what comes up from your subconscious when you ask a certain question.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. Yeah. I wear the Aura ring. This is like a ring here that like tracks your sleep patterns. Because I know that when you're in REM sleep, that's usually when you're in dream sleep. And it's interesting to see, or I could be wrong, but I that from my understanding, that's usually when you're dreaming. And so I always see like when I'm dreaming, and it just kind of makes sense. I'm like, oh yeah, it always seems like in the morning I'm dreaming, or I can like remember it. For me at least, but then you can see like when throughout the night you are dreaming, because that's when you're in your REM state.
Yeah, that's super cool. I feel like I need to get one of those rings. I've heard so many people talk about it.
Yeah, I love it. I've had it forever. I love it. It's really cool. But I'm a data nerd. That's why I love YouTube analytics. That's what I do. I spend hours every day studying analytics for the different channels that I run, because I just love the data. I love data.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. You're like the opposite of me.
Yeah. So I love it. But, it's like not everyone does. And that's why, I have a lot of people that have me do it for them, because they're like, oh, I just want to focus on creating. I don't want to look at the numbers. I'm like, you got to look at the numbers. Okay. I want to go back to when you said well, first off, with this dream journal, how often are you doing this every week? I can't imagine you're doing it every single day. Or are you?
Okay, so I used to do it every single day.
Oh, wow.
Now I do it about as often as I meditate. So I'll always do it. If I'm having one of my meditating mornings, which is usually 5 days a week, I will also dream journal. Oh. But yeah, I used to do it every day, and I really want to get back into doing it every day, because I have way more lucid dreams when I do it every single day, no breaks. I still have lucid dreams pretty often, and even when I kind of take a break from dream journaling, I notice that I still will have lucid dreams, but it'll kind of get less and less unless I'm actually dream journaling. So yeah, at the moment it's pretty often. I used to do it every day though, and I'm trying to get back on that.
And so when you say meditate, what kind of meditation are you doing? Is it that guided meditation? Are you just sitting there with your own thoughts? Like what are you doing when you're meditating?
Yeah, so I meditate for about 20 minutes. Unless it's a really busy morning, I'll settle for like 5 or 10 minutes. It really depends what's going on in my day. I'm one of those really intuitive people. Like I don't really like schedules. I'm a Gemini, and so I like kind of spontaneously doing stuff. And so for me, I try always to meditate for 20 minutes every morning. And then again, if it's a busy day, like 5 to 10 minutes in the morning before starting my day. But for me personally, if it's like a 5 to 10 minute meditation, that's something I'll just walk through in my own mind. If it's a 20-minute meditation, I will find one on YouTube. So for example, maybe I'll listen to one of my own, although I can kind of get critical with my own. So sometimes I stick away from those, because hearing my own voice, I'm like, it's a bit distracting. But there's a ton of them on YouTube. Like if I just like Google or YouTube, like morning meditation for manifestation, or morning meditation affirmations into a new state, or something like that. There's so much content on there, and there's so many amazing creators that you can find there that have some of the best meditations I've ever listened to. So just like YouTubing that, kind of seeing the ones that are, pretty popular are usually your best bet. So yeah, that's cool.
That's kind of what I do, is I like listening to some, and I'll do that in the morning, and I have a few favorites that I listen to every morning, but I don't do that dream journal. That's really interesting. So then after you do that, you'll get up and start dream journaling?
Yes. Oh, well, actually I do that before meditation, just because I'll sometimes forget my dreams. So I wake up, dream journal real quick to make sure that I remember everything that's there, and then I'll go into meditation. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. And then anything else that you do as part of your routine or schedule?
I think that's like my main 2 things that I really like to do. I also, if I'm feeling like I'm having a kind of off moment or off day, I really like to reflect. Like if I'm having an off moment, before taking action on feeling negative or feeling off, I really like to reflect on that first and see like, where is this emotion actually stemming from? And there's also practices that you can do to change your state. So recently I've been looking into, it's called NLP,
neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been looking into that, and it's kind of fun to use the exercises that you can change your state. So you can kind of like program, you can get an elevated emotion and start to associate it in your brain with a certain action. So for example, I have like snapping my fingers. That's my action to change my state. And basically you get into heightened state and you do the action, and then you begin to do that over and over and repeat it. And it kind of, your mind will start associating. Yeah, exactly. And cool. So doing that to kind of like change my state also really helps kind of just throughout the day. If I'm noticing like, oh, I really need to feel like energized right now and I'm feeling really tired, and I'll just,
that's cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah, NLP is really fascinating. It's one of those things too that I've just kind of scratched the surface on, but like, of course I bought like a course and I like haven't gone through it yet. You know, it's like one of those things. It's like, I want to really learn it. It's great. It's, a lot of online business people use it. It's fascinating. But okay, so we're heading to like the second half of the podcast, or towards the end, where I ask you the same question that I ask everybody that's been on this show. So it's kind of like a rapid fire, but we can go into detail on any of the questions if we have to. So you ready for that? All right. So what would you say is your number one struggle with YouTube?
Oh my gosh. Number one struggle is probably just feeling like good about my content. Sometimes I get really critical, honestly. Sometimes I'm looking back on it and I'm like, I don't even want to put it out. So that's my biggest struggle.
Self-criticism. Yeah. The perfectionism can really get, it gets to a lot of creators. So how do you overcome that?
I just say, okay, this was my best in the moment, but how can I improve it next time? Or sometimes I just scrap the video and say, okay, if I'm really feeling negative about it, let's redo it and let's like level it up a notch.
Yeah. How often do you do that?
I probably have a video that happens like that probably like once a month where I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to scrap that one and let's redo it. But I also, I really want to push myself to just be like, to do better every time and to strive for like excellence. And I think that if we do that, we'll probably achieve more than what we thought we were going to achieve. But at the same time, we can't get too critical because then we won't ever do anything at all.
Yeah.
So it needs to kind of have a balance. And so I notice I just come back down to reality. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what, this was good enough for the moment. Let's do it. At least I'm putting stuff out. So
yeah. How often do you upload?
I upload once to twice a week.
Okay. Yeah. So not consistently twice a week, or not consistently once a week, just kind of like between the two?
Yeah. And so for me, because I do the psychic readings, I notice that some days I wake up and I'm feeling like my mind is not in like the psychic realm, and I am finding my mind is more attached to reality and the things that are happening in reality. And I notice that if I film psychic readings during those days, they just really don't come out very good. And so I don't put myself on a schedule for that, just because it's more of an intuitive practice. So I noticed that I need to really be feeling intuitive and feeling really connected that day. And so that's why I kind of don't really have a schedule with that one, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that totally makes me in the mood for that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If you were to start over right now, what, if anything, would you do differently?
Honestly, I don't think I would do anything different. I'm so happy with even my negative experiences in life because I've learned so much from them. And even going through negative experiences and challenges, at the moment, I was probably like, oh, I don't want to experience this at all. I'd rather be anywhere else but here. But as you kind of get farther away from those moments and you reflect on them more, at least in my experience, whenever I reflect on them, I learn so much from them. And I would never be the person I am today without the negative experiences that I've had in my life, like the hardship that I've been through, the challenges that I've been through. I have learned so much from going through that I would never take it back for the world. I would never do anything differently than how I've done it. Yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel like you have to go through some of the low points and some of the struggles in order to get out through the other side. And it's like every single thing you do really makes you who you are. I mean, sometimes you look back, you're like, I probably should have done that a little differently, but you learn from everything. Yeah.
And like in the moment, you're probably just like, oh, I really regret that. But at the end of the day, we're all human. We all make those mistakes and we would have never learned otherwise. So we have to just be really thankful for those experiences.
Yeah. What is your favorite video you have uploaded onto your channel?
Oh, great question. I guess I really like all the ones that I've uploaded. I've like come to really love, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I have a favorite, but I guess any of my new content, just because I feel like I've learned a lot, and the wisdom that I'm able to kind of share in those videos and in those readings is like even better than what it used to be. And even though I still had good advice back then, I just feel like I've learned so much more. And so, yeah, pretty much any video I'm quite proud of, and the advice that's there. And yeah.
What is your number one tip for preserving your mental health as a creator?
That great question. As a content creator, I have been learning that just acceptance is so good. Acceptance and taking responsibility is also really important. Taking responsibility. So, if something doesn't go right, just be like, you know what? I have the power to change it. I'm going to take responsibility, but I also realize that I have the power to change whatever I'm currently struggling with, or whatever I'm currently dealing with mentally. I have the power to learn from it and overcome it. So taking that responsibility, rather than feeling like the world is against you, or rather than feeling like external circumstances are making you feel mentally hard, realizing that, hey, this is myself, and it's the meaning that I'm giving to these situations. It's the meaning that I'm associating with it. So I would say that is like some good, a good way of kind of like dealing with things mentally, especially if you're feeling any hardship mentally.
Yeah, I think taking responsibility is huge, because it's like empowering you to like to be able to make, like you said, make those changes. A lot of people are, it's like in victim mode if you're not taking responsibility. It's like, oh, the algorithm sucks, or like blaming on everything else, and then you're putting yourself in a position of a victim, and then in that way you're not empowering yourself to make a change in your life.
Exactly.
Have you ever just wanted to give up on your YouTube? If so, what happened there, and how did you get yourself back on track?
I haven't had a moment of actually like wanting to give up entirely on YouTube, but there's been moments where I've definitely had like frustration. So for example, like recording an entire video and realizing that my microphone wasn't turned on or something, and running into just like technical difficulties like that, where you put so much effort into content, and some of my videos are like hours long. And so there was actually one time I recorded a 3.5 hour video, and I had put so much love and effort into it, and I was feeling like it was going so well. But then I realized that my microphone wasn't turned on, and yeah, and I've had that happen like a couple times, or the microphone will die while recording and something like that. And those moments are definitely frustrating, and I think they happen to all creators at some point. We all run into technical difficulties, and in those moments I've definitely been frustrated and down, because it's like, wow, I put so much love and effort into this, and we all have like tight schedules, we're all busy, and then it's like, oh, I have something else to do after this, and now I don't have content done, and then you have to like make room in your schedule for it. But in those moments, I kind of just remind myself, like, just have fun with it and just laugh. Like, I've learned to really start to laugh at issues and problems. And even if I'm feeling down about something, I'm like, you know what? Let's just laugh at this. Like, how funny is this?
Yeah.
Like, of course it would happen, right?
Yeah. I love that. That's, just learn to laugh at it.
Yeah, learn to lighten the mood, yeah.
Any video that you're really excited about uploading that just bombed on your channel?
Like, didn't do well? I've definitely had that happen before, yeah. Yeah, there's some videos where I'm like, oh, my advice in that was so good. Like, I don't remember the exact title of it. It was, I don't know, probably one of my pick a card readings where I'm like, there was such good advice in that. It was so good. And then obviously it doesn't perform as well as like some of the others. And it's like, why didn't it do that? But, it happens. And I believe that whoever's meant to see it will see it. So that's like what I tell myself, and I feel much better about it.
Yeah, good attitude. What is the biggest opportunity you got as a result of your YouTube channel?
I guess just the ability to connect with people and help them. Like, I've connected to so many amazing people on Instagram, and just they've given me amazing feedback, and just being able to hear their stories and like how it's impacted. I'd say that's my biggest opportunity. Of course, there's been other opportunities, like being on your podcast is really cool. And yeah, just other opportunities. There's been so many, but I would say like probably my favorite is just the ability to connect with people and hear their story, and the ability to actually impact other people is just, it blows my mind. Yeah.
That's so cool. What would you say has kept you going over the last, it sounds like 8 years of being a content creator?
Yeah. I would say just keeping the inspiration going and asking yourself, okay, like, why are you doing this? Once you have like a really big why and you have a really strong why, your motivation and your drive is endless. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What is your superpower that you think has led to your success on YouTube?
Being able to find like positivity through negative situations, that's something my mom taught me when I was really young, and it's helped me so much. Like once you grow that ability, and I really believe it's like just a perspective-based thing, it can change a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And last question, what is your number one piece of advice you would tell someone who is just starting out creating content?
Make a really strong why. Why are you making this content? And once you have a very strong why that drives your soul to like the ends of the earth, then you're unstoppable and you can find success. And again, just that reflection on how can I learn, how can I grow, and how can I make it better? If you always have that mindset, you're eventually going to learn from like whatever you're doing, and you're going to find exactly your path and your niche, and you will find your way to success. So just keep taking steps forward and have a really strong reason why that can motivate you and keep you going, and then you'll get there. You will get there.
Yeah. At what point did you feel like you knew what your why was?
Probably right before I was making my spiritual content. I was like, I genuinely, just my soul has found so much validity and also purpose and wisdom through kind of my spiritual practices, and I've found so much inner peace and so much like connection, and I was like, I really want to share that with other people. I really want to show other people and inspire them to live their best life, and I've found my way to do that through my practices. And so just being able to share them was my why. I'm like, I want to share this with other people. I want them to feel the richness of, you know, having spiritual practices and having guidance. And there's so much wisdom within the tarot too that I've had so much benefit from, and I've learned so much from the tarot. So just being able to share that with other people for me was my biggest why. I was like, this has caused so much transformation for me, and I feel like we could all use some transformation in our lives to reach exactly what our dream life is. So that was my why.
That. And you have to have that kind of passion about what you do and talk about on YouTube. Because that's what you said, that's going to sustain you. I mean, uploading video after video, week after week after week for years, you got to be really passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, well, Leanna, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It was such a pleasure having you and chatting with you. I love chatting about this kind of stuff. So I love, you know, all the really cool things that you have to say. For anyone that isn't familiar with you and your content, where can they find you?
Okay, so my biggest platform would be YouTube, which is just the Gem Goddess. And then on Instagram, my handle is the Goddess Gem. And there I upload just like inspirational quotes, and I write like really long captions if anyone's interested in reading long captions on Instagram. And I have a jewelry store that's lunagem.com. And then you can find information about all my courses, such as my tarot course or my manifestation course, on my website, which is thegemgoddess.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was so great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It was so much fun, and I loved your questions. Those were so entertaining and fun to
think about. Yeah. Thanks, Leanna. Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much, Erika. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that interview and you learned a lot from it. Now, if you have a YouTube channel or considering starting a YouTube channel that you're serious about growing and you want the best of the best when it comes to personalized feedback, advice, and up-to-the-minute YouTube strategy, then consider my Zero to Influence YouTube Bootcamp for Women. I have been running this bootcamp since 2018, and we have hundreds upon hundreds of very successful students that have gone through the program. And I can go on and on about the YouTube Bootcamp, but I want you to hear it directly from some of the women themselves.
I feel so lucky that I got to do Erika's bootcamp.
Before joining Erika's bootcamp, my channel was all over the place. I didn't know what I was talking about.
I would hear people say that I need to find my why and my voice and my audience and understand my target audience, but I never felt like I really understood what that meant.
Erika helped me come up with YouTube video ideas. She helps me with consistency. She helps me to interpret my analytics.
I started with 12,000 subscribers and now I have over 50,000 and it is growing rapidly.
My channel has grown almost 100,000 subscribers.
I definitely wouldn't have gotten to this place in such a short amount of time without Erika's bootcamp.
What makes Erika special is that she has been talking to and analyzing YouTube channels for years, and that has given her this bank of knowledge to pull from.
I'm constantly asking her questions about YouTube. I'm asking her advice about my YouTube channel.
Taking the Zero to Influence YouTube Bootcamp was one of the best
decision I could have ever made for myself, for my channel, for my own personal growth as a human being. I could not be happier.
I love that it has reinvigorated me in such a beautiful way. So I am so happy that I've joined.
You're crazy not to hire her. Get on it. All right.